聖誕快樂！今年我哋特別送上一個充滿爵士樂嘅聖誕特輯。
Musically, Christmas and jazz have long gone together thanks to classics by performers ranging from Louis Armstrong, Ella Fitzgerald, Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, to the modern-day musicians such as Michael Bublé and Diana Krall. Later, Ben Pelletier will be talking to singer Jennifer Pallor about the irresistibly festive melange of jazz and Christmas tunes. But before that, though, with us is Lauren Yuen, a young musician who's also a big jazz fan. Lauren Yuen, welcome to The Works.
Thank you.
So let's start by talking a bit about your background. How did you get started into percussion, and how did that journey lead you to eventually become a jazz vibraphonist?
I think when I was very young, like 6 years old, I started learning percussion, and then I was so fascinated because learning percussion is not like other instruments that we only need to focus on one specific instrument. Instead, we need to play like marimba, snare drum, vibraphone, chimes, triangle, Latin drums, and all the things that you can mention. So you never get bored learning percussion.
Right. But then why did you sort of eventually specialize in vibraphone and specifically jazz?
I think I started playing vibraphone when I was studying at APA, at the academy. I think because I really like the color of the vibraphone. And I think the vibraphone is a very special instrument when compared to other like pitched percussion keyboard instruments.
Right.
Because the vibraphone it has a pedal, therefore we can sustain the sound and we can choose the sound to have like no pedal, half pedal, full pedal, and also with the dampening and with the motor. So the sound can be very like hard, or it can also be very warm.
Sounds very versatile.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so the story of how you got to jazz specifically, can you tell us about that? Because that's quite interesting.
Sure, I think it's because during the pandemic, there were a lot of like percussion festivals that became online. And then one day I was like scrolling through the internet, and then I saw a festival, and then it features David Friedman, and then he is a jazz vibraphonist that I really liked. And at the same time, he's also a very great composer, and then I used to play a lot of his works, and many of his works are like standard repertoire for the vibraphone, like classical vibraphone. And then to me, I didn't even know that it was like a jazz festival. I participated in it, and then I thought I could show him some of my playing and recordings. And then it turns out to be like a totally jazz festival, and then the whole thing was about how to improvise, how to like what is modes, and then how do you improvise so freely. And then it was the time that the very first time that I found out that jazz musicians, they could be very virtuosic. And then actually at the same time I was in my senior year, so I was quite happy that I actually found a new area that I could still keep learning and exploring and to keep myself like improving.
So speaking of jazz, I know Jazz in the Neighborhood earlier this month held a series of concerts called Women in Jazz, New Generation. You also led part of a group or some people in that concert. Tell us about your part in that concert and what was it like sort of putting all that together?
Okay, sure. Actually, this concert, it was a very meaningful concert to me because I got the opportunity to share with my audience the style of music that I truly liked, and then I also got the opportunity to try out some new things. So the first new thing that I have tried out is that I prepared a piece called Cato's Revenge, and then I invited my ensemble group Marbles Percussion to perform with me. And it's actually because my background, I'm actually a percussion chamber musician. So I was wondering whether I could combine like the sparks in percussion chamber music and the freedom in jazz improvisation. And then I also worked on a piece called the Bussy John's Blues with my duo partner Alvin. And for me, I actually also have a percussion duo. And before we used to perform a lot of contemporary music, but for this time, it's for the very first time as a percussion duo that we do the comping and also the jazz improvisation at the same time the complex written part as well. So it's actually a big challenge for both of us. And then the third part, I have invited jazz pianist Nicholas Bulukas to work with me, and I've arranged Love Castle by Chick Corea, but I have done my own arrangement.
Right.
And then so it was really fun. So we enjoyed a lot.
So now I believe we're going to hear something. As I mentioned, Alvin Chow is here as well. What piece would you like to play for us, and why have you chosen this piece?
We are going to play Bussy John's Blues by Tim Collins. The reason why we've chosen this piece is because it's actually quite hard to find a percussion duet piece that has some very great written parts, but at the same time we can like have some space to solo on it, like to improvise on it. So this part, for this piece, we can really do both.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.